Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a new sound clip from Sophie Cunningham, and in it, she basically confirms her mentality when it comes to whether or not she's going to rejoin the Indiana Fever. Let's talk about it. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the CC Report, and today we're going to be talking about Sophie Cunningham. I already released a video a few days ago regarding this topic, but we have breaking news. We have more statements from Sophie that are really revealing in terms of her mentality and in terms of how her experience on the Fever has gone. So let's go ahead and bring up the clip. Thank you so much to Lexi Hall and Sophie C Repost TikTok. This is an interview presumably from the Sophie Cunningham Classic, which is a high school basketball tournament in Missouri that Sophie is running this week. It looks like she's doing some media interviews, and it looks like the audio is muffled at the beginning of the clip, but basically the question is, what was Sophie's favorite WNBA moment? And let's take a listen as to what she says here.
Ooh, I think the obvious one would be what happened this year. But I think my favorite W moment is actually getting traded to the Indiana Fever. Like, just to be closer to home, being back in the Midwest culture has been absolutely amazing. The girls were awesome, and so I think overall, just having a new start was huge. And so I'm just grateful that I don't know if I will be a Fever, but just getting traded was pretty cool.
Go-to spot?
So let's talk about that. Let's unpack that a little bit. There are two big things to really examine here. The first thing that she mentioned, obviously, what she was referencing, the run that the Fever made this year to the semifinals, even though it was kind of a year from hell from there. So, but beyond that, she says that her favorite WNBA moment was getting traded to the Indiana Fever. Now, let's just recall that Sophie has already had some pretty great WNBA moments even before getting traded to the Fever. As a member of the Phoenix Mercury, she made a run to the WNBA finals a few years ago alongside Diana Taurasi, alongside Brittany Griner. So that experience obviously would have ranked high for her. I'm sure there were other experiences that Sophie has had that rank highly for her, but the fact that she ranks getting traded to the Indiana Fever as her WNBA highlight so far speaks volumes. Usually when a player is traded away from a team that they've called home for a long time, they don't regard it as a highlight. Sophie, different story. And what we're seeing here is a pattern that Sophie Cunningham has already been on record as saying that she's loved her time with the Fever. We've also seen people like Ari McDonald. We've seen people like Sydney Colson. We've seen people like Odyssey Sims. We've seen people obviously like Aaliyah Boston. On and on and on, going on record and talking about their time with the Indiana Fever as the best, not one of, but the best experience that they've ever had in the league. And I think that this is super important when it comes to the upcoming WNBA free agency, because it's not just the players that we already have on our roster, it's players that we could potentially be recruiting to come to Indiana, because Indiana for a long time had a reputation of not being a desirable place to go. That has completely flipped on its head. Not only are you somebody that is going to be playing with Caitlin Clark if you're being recruited and if you choose to go to the Fever, but you're also somebody that is going to have the best facilities in the WNBA as soon as the Fever's facility opens in 2027. You're also going to be somebody that is treated like a queen by the organization. You are going to be given every single amenity possible by the organization. We've already seen that happen with every single player that has come through here. They have been given the red carpet treatment by the organization. We're also seeing people that you're going to be loved and adored and cheered by the largest fan base in the WNBA by far. And there have been a lot of people that see that fan base, right? And there are some players that don't like the fan base, obviously, because of the fan base's passion and because the fan base has been rooting against them. But even players that at one point that may have questions about the fan base, people like Sydney Colson, for example, who as a member of the Aces before joining the Fever had some questions about the fan base, but then coming over and the experience that she had with us, it really speaks volumes. And the fact that she is in such high regard around the rest of the league, it really makes a difference to those free agency conversations. So turning it back to Sophie Cunningham, the fact that she ranks joining the Fever as her WNBA highlight, it speaks volumes about the Fever. It also speaks volumes about where Sophie sees herself in the future. And she's already given us a lot of reasons why she really likes the Fever. She enjoys being in the Midwest. She enjoys being close to family. She enjoys the way that the organization has treated her. She enjoys her teammates. She's created some very special bonds with those teammates over the past year. And so when we get to the second part of the clip that we are going to discuss a little bit, where she makes a Freudian slip and says, "I'm just grateful to be," and then she cuts herself off, realizing suddenly that technically she's no longer a member of the Fever, that she is a free agent. She has to correct herself and say that I'm grateful to have been a Fever. She has that little moment. But I think that anybody with a brain can see the thoughts that were going on in her head, which were that she is now and will be again a Fever girl. As far as she is concerned, we've heard her in the past go on record and talk about money and her expectation and her hope that she makes enough money to build a house somewhere. This is a concern that a lot of people had on her podcast, or Show Me Something podcast, when she addressed the subject a few months ago. The tone that she took had some people pessimistic about whether she would be returning to the Fever. But we can see from here that her mentality is not that she is going to be leaving. She is going to get plenty of money because of the nature of the CBA that is being negotiated. In the last CBA, she was making about a half max contract, just over $100,000 per year. Even if she gets not a single percentage more than that, she is going to be making at least $500,000 a year under the new CBA. She may be making more than that, depending on the CBA that they finally settle upon. But it's not going to be anything that she's not going to be able to fulfill all of her financial desires with. To say nothing of her participation in Project B, which is going to give her at least $2 million for a couple of months' work. So money is not going to be an issue for her. The only issue is going to be fit. And she's already talked in this clip about how the fit with the Fever is, and the fit is perfect. So if it's up to Sophie, she's going to be a Fever. The only thing that I can see standing in the way is if the team doesn't want Sophie to return. I do not think that this is a possibility. Sophie knows her role. She has been brought to the Fever for her versatility. She has been brought to the Fever because of her leadership. She has been brought to the Fever because she is willing to defend Caitlin Clark if needs be. She has been brought to the Fever because of her sharpshooting ability. But she has not been brought to the Fever to be a superstar, nor does she want to be. She wants to be a team contributor, and that is what her role has always been and will always be. She is going to be paid commensurate to that. We are going to give her a fair market deal, but it's not going to be a deal that is going to be paying her a max salary or anything like that. If there is another team out there that has a different role in mind for her, if there is another team out there that wants to make her the core of their team, if there is another team out there that wants to give her a maximum contract, and she decides that she wants to take the money and take the increased role on the other team, via con Dios, and we as Fever fans should really be happy for her that she's gotten that opportunity. But I don't think that that's coming down the pipe. Her statistics that she put up last year, even though she played well for her role, were not the statistics of somebody that's going to be a max player on any team. So the Fever are going to give her market value. She is going to return, and she's going to have a wonderful time as a Fever in perpetuity. So we're looking at Sophie Cunningham. We're looking at free agency. We're understanding that the free agency market that is going to take place whenever the CBA is signed is going to be a very favorable situation for the Fever because of the experiences of the players that have already come, including Sophie. And as far as Sophie herself is concerned, mentally, she's already a Fever girl, and she's going to be a Fever girl for life. This has been the CC Report. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give us a like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. It's really going to help me out in the future. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for watching. I will see you in the next one.